Let's bring in Republican Congresswoman Claudia Tenney from New York. She is a member of the House Foreign Affairs Committee. Congresswoman, great to see you. You have a Marine son who was, I believe he was in Iraq but not Afghanistan, but I'm sure he's concerned about all this as you are. The last 5 planes that left Afghanistan had no Americans on board, by the way. Do you think we've been trying as hard as we can to get the Americans out?
Absolutely not. We have a disaster ensuing here. We have left hundreds, and as your prior guest referenced, we really don't know how many are out and unable to get out of the country now that we've closed the airport. We've evacuated all the American military who can assist and help us with the dangerous situation there, as they have with many others, and so many that I've been helping, trying to get out of the country, some successfully, some still stranded there. And it's interesting, some of the stories we've heard, but how can we as American citizens and Americans allow our president to say that the Taliban dictates what happens, with our country and dictates who gets to decide which Americans and which green card holders and which special immigrant visa holders get out of the country? This is absurd. It should never happen.
Well, particularly after we saw how they partnered with us. The result of that partnering could well have been the explosion that killed 13 Americans and more than 100 Afghans. But I'm just wondering about those 23,000 Afghans who are now in country in the United States. Do you think that the vetting process has not been sufficient enough to keep them here? And what should we do with them if that's not sufficient?
Well, based on my anecdotal evidence and my discussions with some of the people who we have brought to the United States, some who are in other what they call lily pad countries like in Qatar and Dubai and other places where they're awaiting getting vetting. I had one a former Afghan citizen who is now an American citizen who went back to Afghanistan to be with her family with 2 young children. When she went to her first lily pad station, she said she was among other people on the plane out of Kabul to that destination who she felt that were dangerous and were definitely not people who should be entitled to any kind of citizenship or entry into the United States. And she said they were aggressive. She couldn't identify if they were Taliban, ISIS-K, or some other terrorist group, but they were very hostile towards her, and she was very nervous to be in their presence and was asked to be moved away from them. And this is a woman who was formerly an Afghan citizen, now an American citizen, and she was very concerned about the lack of vetting and very concerned about her safety and her 2 children who are with her. So I don't think, as your prior guest, the chaos that has been created by this arbitrary date, originally September 11th, but so much pushback because it disgraced the honor of so many people and the memory of so many people killed on that tragic day 20 years ago, September 11th, to another arbitrary date of August 31st. Why did Joe Biden create this date and then allow the Taliban to create a line in the sand?
Well, and he violated his own promise. For those who've forgotten, there are several examples of it, but we have another one from an ABC interview. Roll tape and get the Congresswoman's response.
And are you committed to making sure that the troops stay until every American who wants to be out is out?
Yes.
He said yes, and it absolutely was not true. Do you think he knew at that moment that he was going to violate his own promise?
It's hard to know what Joe Biden knows. I don't know what he knows, and I'm very concerned about his mental capacity. I'm also concerned about his apparent callousness and arrogance. This whole strategy, and in that interview with George Stephanopoulos, there was also a line that they asked him about the people, clinging to the C-17 and dropping to their death. And he said that was 4 or 5 days ago.
He had the wrong date.
Has anyone been killed? Well, the knock on wood foreign policy that we're seeing from Joe Biden is callous, it's cruel, it's dangerous, and it's hurting American citizens. That's why I've called for his resignation. Unlikely, but we must begin impeachment proceedings, which should be led by the third in line to the president, Speaker Nancy Pelosi. He is a clear and present danger to America and to our safety and security. We need to commence these now on so many fronts, and many you've already identified in your show, and this is early on. Yeah,
by the way, very quickly, we got to run, but if Republicans take over the House in 2022, would that set up an impeachment of President Biden?
Well, I hope we have an impeachment before then, because American lives are...
Well, it's not going to happen with the Speaker of the House.
You don't know that. Bill Clinton was impeached by a bipartisan group over an affair with a woman. and lying under oath and perjury. This is an actual political. This is not a political impeachment like Bill Clinton's was. This is a constitutional impeachment. The question about the commander-in-chief putting American citizens and service members in harm's way and to their death, and creating Gold Star families. It's a disaster, and it's a tragedy on every level.
Congresswoman Tenney, thank you for coming in here. We appreciate it.